Thank you for that wonderful introduction, BX. I love it. Give it up for all the previous speakers, y'all. They have been amazing. So I am Dr. Eunice Gwanmesia, a Black immigrant woman from the cornfields of Cameroon in Central West Africa, with a beautiful, heavy accent. Let me ask you all a question. Have you ever felt like your unique voice and experiences were overlooked or undervalued at your place of work? Those of you online, you can type yes in the chat. And those of you here present, by show of hand, have you ever experienced that? Thank you so much. I see your hands raised. Audre Lorde once said, "It is not our differences that make a difference. It is our inabilities to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." If you would be so kind to allow me, I would like to share a little part of my story. Earlier on in my career, I found myself at a place of work where my colleagues constantly ask me, "What?" with that extra A in the middle. After I spoke, with their voices dripping with exaggerated confusion. Why? Every day was a test. Would they understand me today? Would they understand me today? I felt like my voice, I was invisible, as though it did not matter. Have you ever felt as though you were invisible or your voice was silenced by the words, not by the words you spoke, but how you spoke them? This made me realize that I was a culture ad, but they wanted a culture fit. What do I mean by that? A culture ad, folks, you coming into an organization, you bring unique values and skills. You bring your values and your beliefs. You're trying to assimilate into that organization or into that culture. But you're going to hold on to your identity and who you are, and you're so proud of it. You're not going to let go because they say you want to fit into that culture. On the other hand, you're a culture fit because they want to maintain the status quo. They want you to come in and be who they are and be the old boys club. But that's not who you are. You want to hold on to your identity. So that is the difference between being a culture fit. There's still those organizations putting up those job advertisements saying, "We want a culture fit." But you have something unique to add to the table. You want to come in and have that voice and be a culture add to that organization and not be a culture fit. So as from today, be a culture add and not a culture fit, my people. All right? So that is the difference. So I ask of you, who wants to join me on this journey of building inclusive cultural places? By show of hand, those of you online, you can type yes. Thank you. So I overcame that feeling of feeling invisible. And I am here today to share my story and to empower you to find your unique voice, regardless of your accent or your circumstances. I am also here today to contend that if we embrace cultural differences and allow everyone at the table to have a voice, then we're giving opportunities for everyone on that table to unleash their full potential and thrive. But then, that is where inclusion really matters. Inclusion really matters. And research has proven that organizations that foster inclusive environments lead with employee engagement, increased job satisfaction, increased retention rates, and increased organizational success. Therefore, fostering inclusivity is the way to go. But how does that happen? That begins with very practical strategies, and it starts with leadership. Strong leadership. And what are those strategies? Open communication channels. Very basic things. Becoming aware. I come from a culture where talking to someone in authority on leadership position, or even my colleagues, I don't look at you directly, maintain direct eye contact, because that's my culture, being respectful, or having direct communication. An American person or people have direct communication strategies. Unlike other cultures, very indirect communication. So as leaders, we have to understand who we're dealing with within our organizations, right? Or within our communities. So there are so many of those things that we can do implementing and fostering inclusivity within our organizations. I can give you another live example of organizations that are really fostering inclusivity. JP Chase Morgan. Very great initiatives that they've implemented within their operation system. For example, the employee resource groupings, making sure that they're really increasing initiatives to increase our representation within their leadership teams. That is creating impact. Flexible scheduling. All of these things falls back to leadership. Leading by example is all we cater for. Creating that impact is everything begins from the top. But as leaders, what do? Knowing that you're also the one that pioneering that inclusive leadership skills. Making sure that you're getting the buy-in for your leaders. I talk about being the pioneer, the champion, the influencer, the hesitator, and the obstructor, because you're going to need those obstructors in order to cross all your I's and dot all your T's when you're building that inclusive workplace. So in conclusion, I am going to say, I invite each and every one of us to lead by example so that we're building these inclusive workplace cultures and so that inclusion can be the cornerstone of success. I love you all, and I thank you for having me on here today.